Good morning, all. Today, let us see the relation between stress and strain. All of you are familiar with the term elasticity. When we apply an external force on a body, it will tend to undergo deformation. But there will be certain force developed within the body. That is, the resistance force will be developed there. Then, if we remove the external force from the body and the body comes back to its original size and shape, that body is known as elastic body. And the property of the material which returned back by virtue of which it returned back to its original position after the removal of external force is called elasticity. And steel is an elastic material. Here you can see the stress strain behavior of ductile and brittle material. Here in this plot, the strain is plotted along the x-axis and stress is plotted along the y-axis. Then first one is the stress strain curve of aluminum alloy, which is a ductile material. And in this, up to a certain limit, that is up to elastic limit, upon the removal of the external force, the body comes back to its original position. Whereas beyond such limit, that is in plastic region and all, then there will be a permanent deformation. That is, upon the removal of the external force, it will not bring back to its original position and there will be certain permanent deformation. That is the case of ductile material. Whereas in the case of brittle material, the failure of the brittle material is all of a sudden and we cannot identify such a plastic region in case of a brittle material. The term elasticity, elastic limit, all these can be well explained with the case of a mild strain curve of mild steel bar. For that, this represents the tension test setup of mild steel. This machine, it is known as UTM, that is a universal testing machine. The term UTM is why because we can do all the tests such as tensile test, compression test, shear test, bending test, all these can perform in this machine. Here, in order to draw the stress strain curve of mild steel, we have to perform the tension test. This represents the test specimen. Here, it has two ends at the here to get proper grip on this machine, and these two are to be placed between these two jaws provided here. It has to be firmly fixed between the upper and lower jaws. And the loading, this is a hydraulically operated machine. Loading and rate of loading, all these can be adjusted here. And we have to apply the load gradually, and as the load increases, there will be deformation. And this deformation can be obtained from an extensometer connected to this UTM. From this, we will get the deformation. Knowing the gauge length of the specimen, we can obtain the strain, that is the deformation divided by the original length, that will give the strain. And we can find out the cross-sectional area of the specimen knowing the diameter. From this test can be obtained. The load that can be directly obtained from the dial gauge of the UTM. Thus we can plot the stress strain curve of the mild steel bar at any time of the experiment. Then, upon the application of loading up to a certain limit, as a load increases, the displacement also increases. So as shown here, the stress strain curve will be a straight line up to a certain point and it is known as the proportional limit or the elastic limit. Then if we remove the load at any instant from 0 O to A, it will return back to its original position. And so that region is known as linear elastic region. Then, if it goes on further applying a load, a stage will be reached upon which there is a tendency of yielding of that material. That is, the needle will comes forward and slightly comes backward, and that region is the yield point. It can be better explained with this one, that is, upper yield point and the lower yield points are there. With a further increase in load, the deformation is also increases, and the increase in strain with the strain is large in comparison to increase in stress. And the load, the maximum load it can be taken, it is represented by the ultimate load. At this stage, the needle will stuck on that point, dummy needle will be there, and the main needle will start to return back. And at this stage, the necking begins. That means the diameter of the specimen goes on decreasing. So the load that it can taken further, that starts reducing as a cross section of that member is decreases, and hence the stress here it decreases, and ultimately the breaking of the specimen occurs, and it is represented by the point E. So A represents the limit of proportionality, B is the upper yield point, C represents the lower yield point, D is the ultimate load point, and E is a breaking point. And D, load at that point D divided by the cross-sectional area, that will give the ultimate stress, and load at corresponds to E divided by the cross-sectional area, that will give the breaking stress. The thing to be noted is, while the specimen breaks, the cross-sectional area of the specimen is less than the original cross-sectional area. And these terms, limit of proportionality is the limiting value of the stress up to which the stress is directly proportional to strain. And the upper yield point is the stress at which the load starts reducing and extension increases. This phenomena is called yielding of the material. At this stage, the 4 mild steel strain is about 0.125% and stress is 250 Newton per mm square. And the lower yield point, at this stage the stress remains the same but the strain increases, and the ultimate stress, this is the maximum stress the material can resist. That is, at this stage the load is maximum load, and the load divided by the corresponding load divided by the cross-sectional area, it is the ultimate stress. This stress is 370 to 400 Newton per mm square for mild steel. At this stage, the necking begins, that is the cross-section began to reduce, or the diameter is started to reduce. Load resisted and stress developed start reducing. And breaking point, the stress at which finally the specimen fails is the breaking point or the breaking stress. At this stage, the strain is 20 to 25%. Here comes two terms, percentage elongation and percentage reduction in area. This represents the ductility of material. Percentage elongation represent how the material get elongated before the failure. How much elongation is there? This can be calculated as increase as we are performing the tension test. By the application of load, there is an increase in length of the specimen. Then so the percentage elongation is increase in length of the specimen divided by the original length into 100. In case of ductile material, the percentage elongation is 20 to 25%. The next term is the percentage reduction in area. At failure, the diameter of the cross section at failure section is less than that of the original cross section. So there is a reduction in area, and percentage reduction in area is decrease in area divided by original area into 100. If A is the original area and A dash is the decreased area, then the decrease in area is A minus A dash, that divided by the original cross section A into 100. That will give the percentage reduction in area. For steel, the percentage reduction in area is 60 to 75%. Now comes the term factor of safety. You have seen ultimate stress, you have seen yield stress, all this. In practice, it is not possible to design the mechanical component or structural component to permit to stress up to the ultimate stress. There are several reasons for that. That is, reliability of material may not be 100%. We are testing only the sample specimen. Then there may be certain manufacturing defect or something. We cannot expect that much stress can obtain for all the samples or all the specimens. So reliability of material is not 100%, and there will be certain deformation at this ultimate stress point, and the resulting deformation may obstruct the functional performance of the component. We need not, while designing the structural components, the two factors that we have to consider is the strength criteria as well as the serviceability criteria. Deformation, all these things comes under service criteria, whereas the stresses, all these comes under strength criteria. Even though the stress is the specimen may not fail at that level, the deformation, if it exceeds, it cannot achieve the serviceability criteria. Okay. Then next reason is the loads taken. We are designing the structural components or such as beams, columns, all these design of these things that you will study in the later semesters, and all these we are designing that with a certain loads, and these are only the estimated load. All the dead loads that we can calculate the dead load. Then live loads are given in Indian standard specifications, and all these are the estimated loads. Then there may be certain situations when there is a chance for overloading. Then unexpected effect of that also has to be incorporated. So for that we will never load up to the ultimate stress condition. Considering all these, the maximum stress to which any member is designed is less than the ultimate stress, and the stress up to which the member is designed, it is termed as a working stress, and the ratio of ultimate stress to working stress is called factor of safety. That is, factor of safety is ratio of ultimate stress to working stress. And for steel, this ratio is 1.85, and for concrete it is 3, and timber it is 4 to 6. That is, for steel, the working stress is given by ultimate stress divided by 1.85. Whereas for concrete, it is given by ultimate stress of concrete divided by 1.85. Oh, sorry, for concrete, ultimate stress divided by 3. And for timber, then working stress is given by ultimate stress divided by 4 to 6. The reason for having lower value for steel is manufactured in factory, and proper supervision is and control over the sample specimens are more than that of concrete, which is usually cast in situ. And for timber, though the court specifies the strength of various kinds of timber, it varies from specimen to specimen as it is naturally occurring one. So the variation from the standard or specifications are there. That's why higher value of factor of safety has to be given for timber. You have studied stress, strain, and now you have seen what the limit of proportionality is. And now let us see the relation between the stress and strain within the elastic limit. And that law, it is known as Hooke's law. And Hooke's law states that within the elastic limit, stress is directly proportional to strain. And a constant of proportionality, it is known as Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity if you are dealing with the longitudinal stress and longitudinal strain. Then you should know the importance of the term within the elastic limit, because you have seen in the case of mild steel bar, within the elastic limit it is stress is directly proportional to strain, and we get a straight line, the slope of which is a constant throughout that straight line. But after the elastic limit, the stress is not directly proportional to strain, as the graph itself is not a straight line. So the term elastic, within elastic limit, it is very much important and you should know the significance of that term. That is Hooke's law. Within the elastic limit, the stress is directly proportional to strain. And if you are considering the longitudinal stress and longitudinal strain, the constant of proportionality, that is modulus of elasticity, which is also known as Young's modulus. Usually we use the notation sigma for stress and epsilon for strain. Now let us see the stress strain curve of different materials. First one is the stress strain curve of linear elastic material. Note that for all the curves, strain is plotted along the x-axis and stress is plotted along the y-axis. For a linear elastic material, whatever may be the load, the stress developed is directly proportional to strain. That is, stress strain curve is a constant throughout. Whereas in the case of a rigid material, it will not undergo any strain. It will not undergo deformation. Any particle of that body undergoes the same deformation. So the curve is a straight line along the axis of, and the stress is given by the load divided by area. Whereas in the case of a perfectly plastic material, stress strain curve is a constant and strain is constant for the values of different values of load, and the stress is given by load by area. And the elastic, we can see the two elastic constants now. First one is modulus of elasticity or the Young's modulus, which I had already explained. The ratio of longitudinal stress to longitudinal strain. This longitudinal stress may be either tensile stress or compressive stress. Then corresponding strain may be tensile strain or the compressive strain. The ratio of tensile or compressive stress to corresponding strain is a constant within elastic limit. This ratio is known as modulus of elasticity, also known as Young's modulus. And other elastic constant, that is modulus of rigidity or shear modulus, that is the ratio of shear stress to corresponding shear strain, is constant within elastic limit. In the previous class, you have seen what is shear stress is and what the shear strain is. Then in the case, if the force is applied tangential to the surface, there will be shearing effect on that, and the corresponding stress will be the shear stress. And the ratio of shear stress to shear strain within the elastic limit is known as modulus of rigidity. It is also known as shear modulus. It is usually represented by the notation G and is given by shear stress by shear strain, that is tau by phi. Other elastic constant, that is bulk modulus, we can see that in the next module. That much is the relation between stress and strain. Thank you.